Hi, 23rd of June 2019. Polytunnel update. Well, I fixed the flap at the bottom that had been blown open by the wind, and guess what? The wind blew it open again. I have learnt something from this. Duct tape does not have the sticking power to fight against wind. However, even with this gaping back wall open to the elements and more or less facing the west wind, the polytunnel has still offered enough shelter to the tomato plants, but they're growing quite nicely. They're certainly better than the ones I planted out on the allotment, which were open to the winds. And, well, he's chasing the birds. You missed again. They've all gone far too fast. They've got, I don't think this one's got little tomatoes. Yes, it has. There we go. Little tomatoes, and I've started to feed them with the tomato feed, although I'm rather annoyed that I have to buy it in plastic bottles. And the lettuces that we interplanted here in the middle, we've been getting lots and lots of leaves from those, and they're beginning to bolt now. This one particularly, you can see this is getting a bit tall and it begins to taste bitter then. So I've just today planted out some more lettuce seedlings at the far end. I left that bare because I thought we were going to go and fix the flat back up, but we never did. And some more down this end. They're supposed to like shade, so they should enjoy being there under the tomatoes. Outside the polytunnel, the fig tree is in its second year of doing brilliantly well. Huge glossy leaves. Even though we haven't had really warm weather like we've become used to in the southeast, look at those figs. They're rather lovely, aren't they? Overhanging the neighbours. We've never had so many figs before. We've had it for years, and it's really hard to tell what it is unless the idea that you have to restrain the roots of a fig tree is not that perfect, and it's only just now managed to put its roots somewhere where it can get the nutrients it needs. It might be that, or it might be that it's in a sheltered position behind the polytunnel and doesn't get the full blast of the winds. The hazel tree had a haircut earlier in the year. It's producing lots of hazelnuts, but a squirrel regularly patrols it, checking whether they're just almost ripe enough for it to rip off and bury in the ground somewhere. And the kiwi fruit is still burgeoning. It had a mass of astonishingly fragrant flowers. There's one that's fallen off. And it's so wonderful to walk under this arch and to smell the drifting blossom scent. These ones are over now. My goodness, they're already starting to produce fruit. The sad thing is, as I've said before, the fruits never get bigger than this, and they're a bit difficult to eat that size. They're as much hairy skin as they are juicy contents. But I did plant a second tree, a vine rather. They're both labelled the same way. They're both the sort of Jenny variety, which is supposed to be self-fertile, but I have discovered that even though it is fertile, it doesn't produce proper sized fruits. And this one's slightly different because it's got the red hairy stems, and we're allowing it to grow up amongst the other one. I don't think it had any flowers this year. When it does, I'm hoping it will cross-pollinate and encourage the original one to produce full-size fruits. But that'll be next year at the earliest. The loganberry is fruiting, but because it's under the arch, I don't know what it is this year particularly, birds have been sitting up there and pooping all over the berries. And it makes them rather unappetizing looking for the purposes of eating. So, I don't know. I mean, I could make one pot of jam with them. If you boil it up, I suppose it will kill off any pathogens the birds might have splatted onto it. Oh, and behind here, let me show you the apricot tree. Last year it missed its slot, but this year appears to have been perfect for fruiting. Those wonderful apricots. A week ago we had some really heavy rain, and it has given the raspberries the oomph they needed to grow as tall as they should be. These are the autumn fruiting ones, so there's not much going on them yet, apart from growing. They've got their little buds there. Oh, and this grapevine, to get back to the polytunnel, Chris has been training it all along the trellis here. And then he thought, oh, why not make a little hole in the polytunnel roof and bring in a branch. He did that last year. And that is also burgeoning. I hope he'll trim the grapes so that we get decent sized fruits for eating this year. It's usually just seeds and pips and a little bit of juice in between. There's a couple more hazel seedlings that the squirrel kindly planted for us. The allotment's getting quite a good hazel hedge now, but we'll find somewhere for those. These are celeriac seedlings which kind of missed their slot. It's too late in the season to plant them out for celeriac because it's quite slow developing, I think. You can plant them out in the late summer for the next year. And if they survive till then, that's what I'll do. And while we're in the back garden, let's have a quick look in the conservatory. So, this on the left is an achocha, fat baby, an exploding cucumber. I saw it online, you know, as you do, and bought the seeds. And I'm growing it indoors because it's a hot weather plant. I don't know if it was... I've got two plants actually. I've got one in here and one on the allotment, and we'll see what happens. Next to it, this is a cucumber. I've also got cucumber on the allotment. They are slower, so it probably will allow us to harvest these ones first and then the ones on the allotment afterwards and spread out the harvest. There are little cucumbers already. I pulled up some onions. They're not full size, they're supposed to be Stuttgarter Giant, but more than usually they are getting fungus on the bottom. You know, you see them standing there and then the next day one of them's fallen over. You lift it up, its roots have all gone and there's fluffy white fungus underneath it. So I pulled some up early to dry out and then I thought, no, I'll leave the other ones and see if they fall over. It's hard to know what to do. And then I harvested the garlic and some of them are okay. A lot of them have split and the bulbules are sort of separating off and trying to grow, so I'm drying all those out quick before they get too far. And over here is another kind of achocha, or exploding cucumber. This is called Bolivian Giant by the people who sold the seeds to me. And you're supposed to need a large conservatory or polytunnel. So I planted it in this old fruit box and given it a lot of space to climb up, and we'll see what happens. So there we are. Next thing is to go and do another tour of the allotment. See you later.